The stars were quiet that night, but Earth did not sleep. In the deepest reaches of space, far beyond the outer colonies, a shadow moved. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. A ship the size of a small moon, black as the void, glided silently toward the Sol system. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the distant starlight in a cold alien way. Massive turrets and weapons bristled along its hull, and strange energy fields pulsed along its edges. The galaxy had never seen a vessel so terrifying, and yet so perfectly quiet. On the bridge of that ship, Commander Zarkon, the feared leader of the Krivith Empire, looked down on human space. He was tall, his skin gray and scaled, eyes glowing a pale green that betrayed nothing and everything at once. His voice, when he spoke, rolled like thunder across subspace. "Humans of Earth, you will pay tribute to the Krivith Empire. Your fleets, your resources, your obedience, we demand them all. Resistance is futile. Surrender and your extinction will be delayed. Refuse and your world will be erased from the stars." The message reached every corner of human space, traveling faster than light. Every colony, every ship, every command center trembled at the words. Fear ran like fire through the communication lines. Humans were not strangers to danger, but this was different. The Krivith Empire had destroyed civilizations without mercy. Entire species had vanished before, and now they were speaking directly to Earth. On the surface, in the command center of the United Earth Fleet, the humans listened. The screens glowed with the alien threat. Officers whispered to each other, unsure whether to prepare for battle or evacuation. Yet at the center of the room stood the one person who would change everything. Baba Yaga, the fleet admiral, looked at the stars as if she had expected this moment all her life. She was small in stature, but carried an aura of calm authority that silenced every voice in the room. When the message repeated, she did not flinch. She did not panic. She turned to her crew, her face calm, her voice low but full of fire. "We will destroy them, idiots." A ripple of disbelief passed through the room. No one had dared speak like that. Not to an alien empire. Not to a being who had likely seen entire species die without mercy. But her words were not arrogance. They were a promise. Humans had fought impossible odds before. They had faced extinction and returned stronger. And they would do it again. Outside, the Krivith fleet advanced, slicing through the darkness of space. Their ships formed a crescent around Earth, a perfect death sentence ready to fall. Yet even as the enemy approached, human fleets prepared quietly, methodically. Engineers worked through the night, repairing ships, fortifying stations, testing weapons. Scientists and soldiers moved together in a coordinated rhythm, each knowing that hesitation would mean doom. But fear did not dominate. Determination did. Baba Yaga walked among her crews, stopping at each station, placing a hand on a shoulder, a word of encouragement, a calm nod. Her eyes glinted as she observed their faces. "They think we are weak," she said softly, almost to herself. "They do not know humans. They never do." For the first time in centuries, humans truly felt the weight of the galaxy's eyes upon them. They knew the Krivith had never faced resistance like this. They had never seen a species smile in the face of extinction. And yet here they were, defiant, united, unbroken. Somewhere in the void, the massive Krivith ship pulsed with energy, preparing to strike. But for now, silence ruled. The stars held their breath. And on Earth, the humans waited, ready to show the galaxy that terror alone could never conquer a species that refused to bow. Baba Yaga returned to the command chair, her fingers brushing the controls. Her eyes scanned the approaching fleet, calm, cold, confident. And as she whispered to the stars themselves, she made a silent promise to her people. If they want war, we will give it to them, and they will regret ever underestimating humans. The first moment of history was about to unfold, and humanity would not only survive, it would make the galaxy remember its name. The Krivith ships moved with terrifying precision. Their massive engines burned silently through space, leaving trails of energy that shimmered like ghostly ribbons. Around Earth, they formed a crescent, surrounding the planet as if to squeeze the life out of it. From orbit, the scale of the fleet was unimaginable. Thousands of ships, all armed with weapons that could vaporize entire cities in moments, drifted like predators ready to strike. Inside the United Earth Fleet's command center, humans watched the approach in tense silence. Officers and strategists moved quickly, running calculations, trying to predict the enemy's next move. Every signal, every pattern was studied. And yet fear was never the first thought. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived plagues, wars, and disasters that should have ended them. Now, in the cold emptiness of space, they were ready to fight again. Baba Yaga walked among her teams, her presence a calm storm. Engineers, soldiers, and pilots paused as she passed, drawing strength from her steady gaze. "They think fear controls us," she said quietly. "It does not. Courage does. And we have plenty." Her words were simple, yet they carried a weight that made hearts lift even when panic threatened to take hold. Across human space, colonies prepared. Citizens boarded evacuation vessels, but many refused to leave. They had heard the stories of humanity's defiance, of impossible victories against the odds. And now the same courage flowed through them. Children clung to parents, pilots checked their weapons, and scientists finished calculations for defensive systems. Every human was part of the effort, and every heart beat with determination. Meanwhile, the Krivith were calm, confident in their victory. Commander Zarkon reviewed the plans on his bridge. His glowing eyes scanned the human fleet like a hunter studying prey. "They will crumble," he said, his voice low and firm. "They cannot resist. They are weak, emotional. They are unprepared." But he did not understand humans. Humans were emotional, yes, but their emotions were not weakness. Fear became focus. Anger became strategy. Determination became power. Zarkon did not know that the very qualities he despised were the ones that would turn the battle in humanity's favor. Baba Yaga addressed her fleet over the communication network. Her voice was calm, precise, but filled with fire. "Listen carefully. The enemy believes in power, but we believe in skill, courage, and strategy. We do not run. We do not hide. We fight. And we survive. Every human here is part of history. Let them see who we are." Her words spread like wildfire. Human crews cheered quietly, gripping controls with renewed strength. Every ship, every station, every soldier understood the truth. The galaxy had never met humans like this. Even in the face of total destruction, they smiled. Even when death seemed certain, they prepared to fight. The first shots were not yet fired, but the tension was already a living thing. Every sensor, every radar pulse, every blinking light spoke of an approaching storm. The Krivith fleet's silence was deafening. Their confidence was complete. But humanity did not need confidence. They had courage, and courage could turn the impossible into reality. In the shadows of space, human pilots whispered to each other over comms, some joking lightly, some praying silently. "If they want war, let's give it to them," one said. Baba Yaga heard the words through the network and smiled faintly. That was exactly the spirit she wanted. Defiance was humanity's greatest weapon, and so the night before battle, humans waited. Fear tried to creep in, but it could not stay. Determination burned brighter than the distant sun. Every mind, every hand, every heart focused on one thing: survival. But not just survival. They would show the galaxy what it meant to face a human without mercy. Somewhere above them, the massive shadow of the Krivith ship loomed. But on Earth and across human colonies, eyes shone with unyielding light. Humanity was ready. They would not bow. They would not surrender. And the galaxy would soon learn a truth that would echo through the stars for centuries. Humans were not weak, and humans were not afraid. The first battle was coming. And humanity would not only meet it, they would dominate it with courage and cunning that no alien could predict or resist. The silence of space shattered suddenly. The Krivith fleet, massive and menacing, opened fire without warning. Streams of energy tore across the void, hitting satellites, outposts, and even the outer defenses of human colonies. Explosions lit the darkness like miniature suns, sending shards of metal and fire spinning through space. Human eyes widened, but their resolve did not falter. Baba Yaga's voice came through every comm, calm yet commanding. "Brace for impact. Remember your training. Remember who we are. Humans do not surrender." Her words flowed into the hearts of every pilot, every soldier, every crew member. Fear tried to rise, but determination rose higher. The humans struck back, not with sheer force, but with cunning. Stealth frigates, small and fast, slipped through the gaps in the Krivith formations. They moved unpredictably, vanishing into nebulae and asteroid belts, then appearing behind enemy lines to fire with precision. Krivith weapons, designed for brute strength, struggled to track such agile opponents. Ships that should have been untouchable fell one by one to unexpected attacks. On the command bridge of the human flagship Iron Tempest, Baba Yaga watched the chaos with a calculating gaze. She leaned over her console, issuing commands that were both bold and precise. Squadron Delta, flank their right wing. Squadron Echo, cover our stations. Hack their sensors if you can. We need to see their blind spots. The Krivith had never faced a species like this. Their fleet, confident and organized, now showed signs of confusion. Ships that moved in perfect lines began to stagger, unsure of where the human attack would come next. Commander Zarkon's voice, once full of certainty, now carried an edge of frustration. "Why, how are they doing this?" he demanded. But no one aboard his ship could answer. Humans fought differently. Humans fought with creativity, with instinct, with hearts that refused to break. In the shadows of space, a small human squadron appeared where the Krivith least expected. Using reverse-engineered alien technology, they created illusions of multiple ships, confusing the enemy sensors. One Krivith destroyer, massive and deadly, fired on phantom targets and was torn apart before it realized its mistake. Across the fleet, panic began to spread. Even as battles raged above Earth, the colonies watched and cheered in quiet defiance. Families clutched each other, eyes glued to the skies, knowing that humans were striking back. Stories of bravery spread like wildfire. A single pilot holding off 3 enemy ships, engineers rerouting power to shields just in time, squads working together in perfect coordination. The galaxy's largest empire was beginning to feel human ingenuity like a hammer striking steel. Baba Yaga walked the deck, her boots making soft echoes against metal floors. She paused to see a young pilot, barely 20, sweat on his brow yet eyes burning with determination. She smiled faintly. "That's right. Fight like your life depends on it, because it does, but also, fight like humans never give up." By the end of the first strike, the Krivith fleet was in disarray. Their ships were damaged, their confidence shaken, their pride wounded. Humans had not only survived, they had turned the first attack into a stunning counter. The galaxy watched amazed. Humans did not flee. Humans did not beg for mercy. Humans fought with a fierce, unstoppable spirit that could not be measured in firepower alone. And somewhere deep in the void, Baba Yaga's calm voice echoed across the communication network. Simple but deadly clear. "This is only the beginning. You came to demand tribute. You came to threaten us. Now you will see what humans do when cornered. We will not bow. We will not run. We will destroy you." Even in the dark expanse of space, even under the shadow of overwhelming enemy fire, humanity smiled. The fight had begun, and the galaxy had never seen a species quite like this. The battle raged across the stars, but humans were not merely surviving. They were adapting. Each attack by the Krivith was met with something unexpected. Mines hidden in asteroid fields, stealth drones weaving through enemy sensors, and human ships using gravitational pulls of nearby planets as weapons. All these tactics bewildered the alien fleet. The galaxy watched as the impossible unfolded. Humans were rewriting the rules of war in real time. Baba Yaga stood on the bridge of the Iron Tempest, her calm eyes scanning the chaos. Around her, officers moved quickly, their confidence growing with each successful maneuver. She did not smile, not yet. There was still work to be done, but inside a fierce pride burned. Humans had survived centuries of disasters on fragile planets, yet here, in the vacuum of space, they were proving that survival was only the beginning. "They don't know us," she murmured, "and that is their greatest mistake." Her fleet moved with precision, each ship covering another, each pilot anticipating the enemy's next step. The Krivith, for all their size and power, were struggling to adapt. Their formations were broken, their strategies failing. Commander Zarkon had never faced a foe who used unpredictability so effectively. The humans did not rely on raw power. They relied on ingenuity, courage, and a refusal to accept defeat. Human engineers were rewriting the battle in real time. Weapons designed to counter Krivith shields were deployed within hours. Communication systems intercepted enemy signals, turning their own commands against them. Ships that were heavily damaged were repaired faster than expected, their crews refusing to surrender to exhaustion. Every person on every ship carried the same message: humans will not be defeated. Not today, not ever. On one remote asteroid station, a young technician named Mara directed a team rerouting energy from auxiliary reactors to create a temporary but powerful shield over a vulnerable colony. She was exhausted, her hands trembling, but she kept going. She knew that every second mattered. And somewhere in the distance, the Krivith fleet fired blindly, unaware that their sensors were feeding false data. When Mara's shield held against the enemy fire, she smiled. "They can't break us," she whispered to her team. Baba Yaga watched her forces, proud and unwavering. She knew the galaxy expected humans to fall. They assumed weakness where there was strength, arrogance where there was resilience. Every victory, every clever maneuver struck fear into the Kriveth. For the first time, their legendary commander questioned his plan. "Why are they so unpredictable?" he demanded. But no one could answer. Humans were not machines. Humans were not predictable. Humans were alive, and life is never simple. In the middle of the chaos, a human squadron executed a maneuver that became legendary. Using the pull of a small nearby star, they slingshotted behind the Krivith main fleet, appearing directly in their blind spot. Within minutes, they disabled multiple enemy ships without a single human casualty. The Krivith could not believe what they saw. Their massive fleet, designed to crush resistance effortlessly, was faltering against a smaller, weaker enemy. Baba Yaga's voice cut across the comms. "Remember this. Strength alone does not win battles. Strategy, courage, and unity do. This is what humans are. This is what they never expected." Even as the enemy regrouped, human forces pressed on. Every ship, every pilot, every soldier understood that victory was not guaranteed, but giving up was never an option. Humanity had fought wars on Earth that should have destroyed them, faced disasters that could have ended civilization, and yet here they were, turning the tide of a galactic battle. By the end of the day, the Krivith fleet was scattered, their confidence shattered, their plans in ruins. The humans had not only survived, they had gained the upper hand. And somewhere deep in the void, Baba Yaga allowed herself a small, fleeting smile. They had proven that humans were not weak, humans were not predictable, and humans, above all, refused to bow. The first true turning point in the battle had arrived, and the galaxy, watching in awe, began to whisper a simple, terrifying truth. Underestimate humanity at your own peril. The battle had reached Earth orbit. The planet itself seemed to hold its breath, the blue oceans reflecting distant explosions and the shimmering trails of countless ships. Krivith vessels loomed like predators, ready to crush everything in their path. But humanity was not afraid. Humanity had never been afraid. Baba Yaga stood on the bridge of the Iron Tempest, her fingers brushing over the controls as she surveyed the chaos. Around her, human ships moved with precision and speed, weaving through enemy fire like living shadows. Every ship, every pilot, every crew member fought with unmatched skill, guided by courage and instinct. "This is what they don't understand," she whispered. "Humans do not fear death. Humans fight for life, for hope, and for each other." The first salvo of the day exploded near the outer ring of the human fleet. Krivith plasma bolts tore through space, hitting shields and tearing hulls. Yet humans responded immediately. Using newly developed countermeasures, they redirected enemy fire back toward the attackers. Small frigates darted between massive capital ships, creating confusion and opening gaps for larger vessels to strike. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and yet they fought like legends. A human squadron led by Captain Jaren executed a maneuver that would be remembered for centuries. They used the gravitational pull of a nearby asteroid belt to swing behind the Krivith flagship, appearing where no sensors could detect them. Within moments, they disabled the enemy's primary weapon systems. The alien crew, trained to annihilate any opponent, froze in shock. They had never imagined such audacity. Baba Yaga's calm voice cut through the fleet's comms. "We are humans. We fight because we live, and we live because we fight. Do not fear them. Outthink them, outmaneuver them, and never stop moving. Humanity survives through courage, not surrender." Meanwhile, on a nearby colony, engineers worked tirelessly to launch the Stellar Shard Array, humanity's ultimate weapon. Using a network of satellites and carefully controlled energy bursts, it could collapse localized stars into powerful bursts of energy, capable of devastating the Krivith fleet. Exhaustion weighed heavily on the humans, but their resolve never faltered. Every second, every calculation, every tiny adjustment mattered. As the array activated, the Krivith fleet began to falter. Energy pulses hit their shields, disrupting communications and throwing formations into chaos. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and panic spread through their ranks. Zarkon's confidence, once unshakable, cracked. How can this be? He muttered, disbelief echoing across his flagship. He had underestimated humans in every way. Their speed, their tactics, their courage, everything defied his expectations. Amid the destruction, humans moved as one. Pilots protected each other. Capital ships provided cover, and engineers kept systems running despite damage. The battlefield was chaos, yet humans made order out of it. Every act of bravery, every calculated strike sent a message to the galaxy. Humans do not bow. Humans do not surrender. Humans survive, and they thrive even in the face of impossible odds. Baba Yaga watched the enemy flagship crumble under the combined assault of human ingenuity and relentless courage. Her crew cheered, but she raised a hand, reminding them that the fight was not yet over. Do not celebrate yet. Victory is earned through every heartbeat, every shot, every decision. But remember this. Today, the galaxy sees what humans are capable of. Today, we remind them that no empire, no matter how strong, can intimidate us. In the void of space, as the Kravith ships scattered in retreat, humans stood victorious not just by force of arms, but by the unbreakable spirit that defined their species. The stars seemed to shine brighter that day, as if acknowledging the courage of a small blue planet that refused to bow. And deep in the command bridge, Baba Yaga's eyes gleamed with quiet pride. Humanity had reached the heart of the fight and emerged unbroken. They had proven what the galaxy would never forget. Humans fight not because they must, but because they can. And when they fight, nothing can stop them. The dust of battle still hung in orbit. The Kravith fleet, once a terrifying shadow over Earth, now limped away in disarray. Smoke and sparks trailed behind their crippled ships as they retreated, leaving the humans victorious but wary. Humanity had won the fight, but the cost was visible on every face, in every ship, in every station. Baba Yaga stood on the bridge of the Iron Tempest, her expression calm but heavy with thought. Around her, crews worked tirelessly, repairing systems, tending to injured soldiers, and ensuring the fleet remained ready. Despite exhaustion, the energy among the humans was unshakable. They had faced annihilation and emerged stronger. Every ship that returned intact, every life saved, was a testament to human resilience. We survived, she whispered almost to herself, and we will thrive. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread like wildfire. Colonies that had feared extinction now celebrated their survival. Families hugged tightly, children laughed, and communities cheered the bravery of the soldiers who had protected them. Humans had not only defended their home, they had sent a message that reverberated across the stars. Humanity could not be intimidated. Humanity would not bow. Baba Yaga activated the communication channels to reach the scattered remnants of the Kravith fleet. Her voice was calm, firm, and carrying an edge of undeniable authority. You came to demand tribute. You came to threaten extinction. You leave with nothing. Remember this: humans do not pay. Humans do not surrender. And humans never forget those who try to destroy them. The message sent waves of fear through the enemy ranks. Commanders whispered to each other in disbelief. The species they had considered weak, primitive, and inferior had shattered their fleet. They had turned every attack, every strategy, and every expectation into a disaster for the Kravith. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and it would not make that mistake again. On Earth, the celebrations were quiet at first. The human spirit was never boastful. It was resilient. Engineers and soldiers shared small smiles and nods, understanding that victory was earned through hardship, not luck. They had fought with courage, with strategy, and with unity, and though they were tired, every human felt a surge of pride that words could not capture. Baba Yaga walked among her crews, placing a hand on shoulders, nodding to exhausted engineers, and offering quiet words to pilots who had flown beyond fear. You have done the impossible, she said. You have shown the galaxy that humanity cannot be crushed, and this is only the beginning. Remember today, for it will guide us tomorrow. Even as the humans repaired and reorganized, they knew the galaxy was watching. Aliens who had once considered humanity insignificant now recorded every detail, every maneuver, every act of defiance. The legend of Earth's fleet and its fearless admiral was beginning to grow. Across systems, whispers spread. Humans were not just survivors, they were a force unlike any other. The Kravith commander Zarkon, forced to retreat, stared at the distant Earth. His pride was shattered, his confidence gone. For the first time, he understood the truth about humans. They were clever, unpredictable, and relentless. Fear did not control them. Survival alone did not drive them. They fought because they could, because they would, and because they refused to let anyone dominate their spirit. As night fell over Earth, the planet seemed to breathe again. Cities glowed peacefully. Colonies hummed with life, and human ships glinted in orbit like guardian stars. Humanity had prevailed, not through raw power, not through domination, but through courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable will to protect their own. Baba Yaga returned to her command chair, her hands resting lightly on the console. She looked out at the stars, a quiet smile on her face. Humanity had not just survived, they had triumphed. And somewhere deep in the void, across a galaxy that had underestimated them, humans had sent a clear and unshakable message. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Do not mistake numbers for power. Humans are strong, and humans endure. The first wave of victory had passed, but the legend of humanity's defiance was just beginning. And in the hearts of every human, the pride of that day burned brighter than any star, a reminder that no matter how vast the threat, humans would always rise. The Krivith fleet had retreated, but the silence that followed the storm of battle was heavy and alive. Space around Earth was littered with wreckage, shattered ships, drifting debris, and glowing fragments of alien technology. Yet amidst the ruins, the human fleet remained unbroken. Ships that had taken heavy fire floated with their engines still burning, shields flickering but holding strong. Humanity had survived the impossible, and in that survival, they had already begun to win. Baba Yaga stood on the bridge of the Iron Tempest, her gaze sweeping across the fleet. Exhausted pilots wiped sweat from their brows. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair critical systems, and soldiers silently reloaded their weapons. Every human present bore marks of the fight, burns, bruises, and fatigue. Yet none faltered. Each breath, each movement radiated a quiet, determined strength that the galaxy had never seen. They came to crush us, Baba Yaga thought, but they will leave remembering our name. The communication channels buzzed as the remnants of the Krivith fleet tried to regroup. Commander Zarkon's voice trembled as he attempted to assert control over his faltering forces. Regroup. Do not let them. But his orders were drowned out by the chaos. The humans had turned their tactics against them, using speed, intelligence, and creativity to dismantle formations the Krivith had relied upon for centuries. Even a single human ship could create confusion among dozens of alien vessels. Baba Yaga tapped a button, sending a calm, precise broadcast to the enemy. You came to demand tribute. You came to threaten extinction. You leave with nothing. Remember this. Humans do not surrender, humans do not beg, and humans never forget. Her voice was steady, almost serene, but it carried the weight of a storm. Across the stars, the message echoed like thunder in the Krivith fleet. Fear, disbelief, and anger rippled through their lines. They had underestimated humans, and it had cost them everything. On Earth and the human colonies, celebrations were quiet but powerful. Families embraced, tears flowing freely. Children ran across open fields, their laughter ringing against the backdrop of shattered enemy satellites. Scientists and engineers shared small smiles as they finished repairs, knowing their work had saved countless lives. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged stronger, more united and more proud than ever. Baba Yaga walked through her ship, visiting crew members, nodding to pilots, clapping engineers on the shoulder. You have done more than survive, she said softly, her voice full of pride. You have shown the galaxy what it means to be human. We do not bow, we do not fear, and we do not break. Today we are remembered. Her words, simple yet profound, lit a spark in every heart she passed. The Krivith commanders struggled to comprehend what had happened. Entire fleets had been shattered by a species they considered inferior. Ships that should have been obliterated with a single attack had fought back with intelligence and precision. The arrogance that had fueled their invasion now turned to confusion and terror. They had faced humans before, perhaps, but never a humanity united, fearless and relentless. Even as humans tended to their wounded and repaired their fleet, they knew that the galaxy was watching. Reports of the battle spread through communications channels like wildfire. Alien civilizations, previously indifferent or dismissive, paused and listened. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with, a species that could not be intimidated. As night fell over Earth, The planet itself seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Cities glimmered peacefully, space stations floated like silent sentinels, and the stars above twinkled as if in approval. Humanity had prevailed not just through firepower, but through courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable will to protect each other. Baba Yaga returned to the bridge, resting her hands lightly on the console. Her eyes scanned the stars, a quiet smile touching her lips. Humanity had survived, and in doing so, they had made a promise to the galaxy. Underestimate us at your own risk. They had proven that fear could not control humans, and that even in the face of the greatest threat, humans would rise, endure, and triumph. The first wave of victory had passed, but the story of humanity's defiance was only beginning. The galaxy would remember this day, not for the ships lost or the damage taken, but for the unyielding spirit of a species that refused to bow, refused to break, and refused to be defeated. Word count in 650 words. This version emphasizes victory, pride, emotional resonance, and the HFY theme while maintaining simple, clear English suitable for narration. I can now write Part 7, the legacy, the final emotional and powerful ending, keeping it around 650 words and tying the story together. Do you want me to continue with Part 7? Hugh said, Part 7, words 650 ka lekho, or interesting hona chahiye or third-person style ma likhni hai, or simple basic English ka paragraph ma. Proper emotional or attractive. ChatGPT said, here's Part 7, the final part of your HFY story, written in third person around 650 words, simple English, emotional, and engaging. Part 7, the legacy centuries would pass, but the memory of that battle would never fade. Stories of humanity's courage, cunning, and unbreakable will spread across the galaxy, told in whispers, songs, and histories of alien civilizations. They spoke of a small blue planet that defied a vast empire, of ships that moved like shadows through the stars, and of humans who laughed at death and stared fear in the face. Humanity had carved its place in the galaxy, not through conquest but through sheer spirit. Baba Yaga, now a legend among humans and feared across alien worlds, looked back at the battle with quiet pride. She had led her people through fire and darkness, and they had emerged stronger, united, and unforgettable. Every ship, every soldier, every citizen had played a role. It was not a victory of a few. It was the triumph of an entire species. They thought we were weak, she remembered whispering to herself long ago. They thought we would bow. They were wrong. New generations grew up hearing the story. Children played with miniature models of the Iron Tempest, imagining themselves as fearless pilots. Scholars debated the tactics that had shattered the Krivith fleet. Engineers studied the innovations that humans had used, not to copy, but to understand the brilliance of a species that refused to die quietly. Humanity had become a symbol, a reminder that courage and intelligence could stand against any threat. The galaxy itself seemed to take notice. Alien civilizations once indifferent or hostile began to approach humanity with caution. Trade, diplomacy, and alliances shifted subtly, acknowledging the new reality. Humans were no longer just a species among many. They were a force, a testament to the strength of life when it refuses to be broken. And everywhere the words echoed, humans do not surrender. Humans do not bow. Humans endure. Baba Yaga had long since retired from active command, but she remained a guiding presence. She mentored young leaders, shared her knowledge of strategy, and reminded humanity of the lessons of that first great battle. Courage, unity, ingenuity. These were the values that had saved them once and would protect them forever. And in every classroom, academy, and training ground, her story inspired those who would one day defend humanity in the stars. Even the Krivith, the once proud empire that had sought to crush humanity, remembered. Tales of their defeat spread among their fleets carried with shame and awe. They had underestimated humans, and they would never forget the lesson. Across countless worlds, commanders whispered warnings to their descendants. Never face humanity unprepared. Never assume weakness. Never provoke a species that thrives on courage and refuses to bow. Yet for humans, the victory was never about fear or revenge. It was about survival, about hope, and about the unshakable belief that they could face any challenge. Across Earth, in every colony, people looked to the stars with pride, with curiosity, and with the quiet knowledge that their species had proven itself in the harshest test imaginable. They were not merely survivors, they were legends, living proof that life, courage, and determination could triumph against any empire. And somewhere among the stars, the name of Baba Yaga and the humans who had fought beside her became immortal. Ships were named after her. Stories were written of her deeds, and the memory of her defiance inspired generations. Humans knew that the galaxy had learned a lesson, one that would endure for millennia. Underestimate humanity, and you do so at your own peril. As she gazed out at the endless stars, Baba Yaga smiled faintly, her heart full. Humanity had survived, humanity had thrived, and humanity had earned its place among the stars. The galaxy would never forget, and the legend continued. A species small in size, enormous in courage. A people who refused to bow. A civilization that faced the impossible and declared simply and boldly, "We are humans. We endure, we rise, and we will never be broken."